Hello everyone, welcome to this video tutorial on regression analysis. So today we will see how regression analysis can be performed in SPSS. So before we actually start the SPSS session, let me explain you the concept of regression analysis. So regression analysis is one of the most widely used research method in or we can say statistical technique in business research. In most of the research related to finance, marketing, HR, we tend to use this method for establishing the relationship between variables. Okay, so whenever your intention or your objective is to understand how one variable is impacting another variable, you can use regression. Okay, so in most of the case, like in causal kind of research, we usually prefer to apply regression analysis. So regression analysis is nothing, just a statistical technique which help you to understand or which help you to study the relationship between two variables. Through regression you can actually identify how one variable is impacting another variable. So this is the advantage of regression. Basically there are two type of variable in regression. One is dependent variable and second one is independent variable. As you can see on the screen, a dependent variable is something which we want to predict. Okay, so we want to see how the level of rainfall is impacting the crop productivity. So in this case, crop productivity will be your dependent variable because crop productivity depends upon the level of rainfall. On the other hand, rainfall will be an independent variable because it impact the other variable, that is productivity of crop productivity. Okay, so in this way you can understand the difference between dependent and independent variable. Dependent is a variable which is depend upon the value of this variable is depend upon the value of some another variable. Okay, on the other hand, independent variable is with the variable which impact the value of some other variable. Okay, so one example we have already taken. Another example you can take. Suppose in a company there are two variable. One is sales revenue and second one is advertisement expenses. So the basic concept is higher the advertisement expenses, higher will be the sale. That means here advertisement expenses is something which is impacting your sale. So sale here is a dependent variable and the other variable, that is advertisement expenses, it will be an independent variable. Okay, independent variable can be multiple. There may be chances that 3-4 variables are impacting one variable. So dependent variable will always be a single dependent variable in regression, but independent variable can be multiple. When you are studying a single independent variable, then it will be called a simple regression. When you are studying independent variable in excess of 1, that means more than 1 if you are studying, then it will be called as multiple regression. So we will see one by one. First we will see the simple regression. Simple regression means when we have one dependent variable and one independent variable. To predict the relationship, we need to fit in a trend line. We need to fit in the regression line. But the question is how we can fit in the regression line. So for that we have a basic regression equation which we use to predict or which we use to fit in the regression line. Okay, so how or what is the concept of this regression line? Simply this is a regression equation which we usually use to predict the relationship or to calculate a regression. Okay, so this equation is very simple. It says y equals to a plus bx plus e. We need to understand the concept of y, the concept of a, b, x and e one by one. So y here denote the dependent variable, that means the variable which we want to study, the variable on which we want to assess the impact. So that variable will be your y, and similarly x is your independent variable, that means a variable through which we want to predict the relation, predict the value of a dependent variable. That means if we take the example of sales revenue and advertisement expenses, so here y is your sales revenue and X is your advertisement expenses, because the value of sale depends upon the value of advertisement expenses. Conceptually, we assume that higher the sales, higher the advertisement expenses, higher will be your sales revenue. Okay, now there are three important terms, A, B and E. We need to understand these three important terminologies in the regression equation. Okay, so first of all, A is the constant, or we can say intercept. A is the constant and the intercept of relationship. Okay, we want to study the relationship between two variable X and Y. There may be a situation when the value of X is 0. In that situation also the value of Y will be something. Okay, like for example, suppose a company is not expanding at all. That means the advertisement expenditure is 0. Suppose for a company advertisement expenses is 0, then also the sales will happen. That means 5,000, 10,000 unit sale is happening in absence of advertisement expenses. That means A is the value of Y in absence of X. That means when the value of X is 0, what will be the value of Y? That is your A. So A is very important in regression. Now the second term is B. The second important term is B. B is the slope of relationship. That means the degree through which the independent variable, that is X, will affect the variable Y. Okay, so higher the slope, the angle of this slope, the impact of in X will be higher on Y. Okay, now E is simple, the error. It's a prediction. Okay, basically when we fit a regression line, we try to predict the value of Y based on the value of X. Prediction cannot 100% correct, because the simple reason is Y is not only affected by X variable. That means suppose if we take the example of sales and advertisement expenses, sale, that means variation in sale is not only because of advertisement expenses. There may be some other variables also, maybe the quality of the product, the efforts by the sales team. So these variable can also affect the sales. That means sales is not solely explained by advertisement expenses. That means there may be some error if we want to predict, if we want to explain the sales only by advertisement expenses. So error is that unexplained variance. It is an unexplained value of Y which we cannot explain with the model. Okay, so there may be some variable which we have not included in the model. Because of those exclusion, whatever error will occur, that will be termed as E. Okay, so this is how this basic regression equation will be used to analyze or to calculate regression analysis. Okay, to perform regression analysis, sorry. Okay, so this is a simple regression. As you can see, there is only one independent variable, that is X. Okay, but regression can be multiple also. When there is more than one independent variable, that means X will be multiple, X1, X2, X3, for 3 variables, maybe for 4 variable, X1, X2, X3 and X4. That means independent variable can be more than one. Like another example, if you want to take, the example of a company profitability. That means what are the different factors, we want to understand what are the different factors which affects the profitability of a organization. Okay, so dependent variable is clear, it is profitability. Suppose return on investment we have taken as a proxy for profitability, so our dependent variable is return on asset. Okay, but what are the different factors which affect return on asset? Okay, so on the basis of literature review we have identified 2 or 3 variables. Suppose first variable we have identified growth rate, second variable we have identified the debt equity ratio of a company, and third variable we have identified in terms of advertisement expenses. That means on the profitability of a organization there are 3 variables which may have some impact. One is your advertisement expenses, second is your growth rate, Okay, second is your growth rate, and subsequently third one is your debt equity ratio. Okay, so these are three variables which may affect. We want to study the impact of these three variables on the profitability, which is measured by return on asset. So in this case, dependent variable will be return on assets, and independent variable will be three. First is debt equity ratio, second is your growth rate, third is your advertisement expenses. So this is a case of multiple regression where we have more than one independent variable. Like you can see on the screen, this is the regression equation in case of multiple regression. Okay, similarly, y equals to a plus b1 x1, that means b1 is the slope of x1 variable. Okay, b2 is the slope of second variable, and similarly b3 is the slope of third variable. Y is again a dependent variable, a is again the intercept, or we can say constant. That means in absence of all three variables, a will be the value of y in absence of all three independent variable. Okay, and slope b1, b2, b3, they are slope of relationship of individual independent variable. That means b1 is the slope of x1 variable, b2 is the slope of x2 variable, b3 is the slope of x3 variable. Higher the slope, higher the impact of that variable on dependent variable. Okay, so this is all about the concept or the background of regression. Okay, so now in second tutorial we will see how this regression analysis can be applied in SPSS. Okay, so thank you for watching. I hope this tutorial will help you to understand the regression analysis.